The memories of lives lost in Plateau State persistently echo for justice, casting a dark cloud across the Middlebelt. A call for peace is met with varied suggestions. The military employs a spectrum of strategies, prompting us to ponder what in the first place is the root cause of this ongoing unrest within the region, and how can we bring an end to this persistent tragedy? These are the things we'll be deliberating upon on this episode of the show. Friends, welcome once again to Channels Beam, where curiosity meets conversations, taking us a step further into the future we desire. I'm Sunes Nathaniel, and let's begin today with the top tweets from the passing week and our synopsis in which we went to the streets to feel the pulse of Nigerians. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Following President Bola Tinubu's New Year's message urging citizens to remain resilient in the face of all oppositions, Nigerians came up with what some have called the theme for the year, and it was none other than no grief for anybody. An investigation into illegal certificates obtained from the tertiary institutions in Togo and Benin Republic sparked great controversy all over social media, causing the National Universities Commission (NUC) to ban several foreign institutions, with a full list of schools under investigations released. Weeks after reports that veteran comic actor John Okafor, aka Mr. Ibu, had his leg amputated, Nigerians were worried to hear that another veteran, Zach Oji, was hospitalized, leaving many questions about what really is going on within the industry. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, has been on the lips of many in the past few days, especially the youth, who think he might be a revolutionary, following his directive that full automation of passports will commence on Monday, the 8th of January.
Celebrations for Nigeria on the 11th of December.
Welcome back. It was a black Christmas in Plateau State, and the last of the matter is yet to be heard. Several more infractions leading to killings within the Middlebelt poses several questions. And on the show today, I have with me two highly skilled individuals. One will be taking a research-based approach to the situation within the Middlebelt, and the other will be speaking on where tech meets security for the ordinary citizens and for the country as a whole. First, I have with me Dr. Felix Oyosoro, Senior Lecturer and Acting HOD of the Department of History and International Relations at Veritas University, a specialist in African military and security studies. Next is Edmond Digene, a software developer who has been trying to use tech to curb some of the security threats in various quarters. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sunest, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. Doctor, let's get right into it. Like we earlier said, the main question is, why is it persistent? Why do we have the constant bloodletting, within the Middlebelt? Please take us through it.
Yeah, arguably there are certain trajectories that are causes to this bloodshed and several insecurities that we face in the Middlebelt. And first is governance issues, and then most secondly we have the rate of unemployment, of course, and thirdly, there is also a new form of cause or a route to this bloodshed or insecurity happening there, which is climate change, which should not be swept under the carpet. And then, of course, we have a little bit of security maneuvering problems from our security parastatals. So these are basically the causes. Now, at the lower levels, we have ethnic problems, religious issues, and the rest. But these are issues that could be curbed if these other major problems I have listed up, or these major causes I have listed upwards, are resolved. So first, governance, and then we have the issues of unemployment and security issues or lack of adequate security involvement in these.
All right. I am very keen as to climate change.
Yeah.
I am really very keen as to climate change. Yeah. Take us through that. I mean, based on your research, how has this affected that region?
Of course. Recent research show that climate change or climate-induced conflicts are the drivers of instability and insecurity, especially in the Middlebelt, because the lake Chad is shrinking, and every other natural resources that we have around that has to do with the climate and the environment it's becoming more smaller and reduced. Hence, people who had these sources as their means of livelihoods are no longer having these resources to look up to or to protrude or have their livelihoods sourced from them, and they tend to go and search for pastures or greener pastures elsewhere. And this creates lots of encroachment into other sectors like the farmlands and whatever things we have seen that shape the conflict scenario in the Middlebelt.
All right.
Yeah.
I just hold your thought because I'm gonna come back to you. Let's go to Mr. Igene. I know you've been trying to use tech to curb some of these things. Take us through how tech can meet security and help this mitigate the threats that we have, like you have studied and you have researched.
All right. Thank you very much. So technology is a way to advance what we already know. The protocols already exist. It's supposed to aid our security officials, it's supposed to gather intelligence. Now, where technology meets security is at the point where we need to gather information. We need to be a step ahead of what is happening, right? Because there are two things that are involved. There's an event that triggers a reaction, right? If you're able to detect the event on time, or shortly after the event has occurred, you're able to prevent that reaction, or at the very least, secure lives. Now, technology is the best way to gather intelligence. Technology is the best way to ensure that you're not unnecessarily showing force when there is an issue that requires discussion, right? So if you're able to implement certain means of technology, certain things that can help you gain the lead, the advantage, the heads up before some tragedy like this that has occurs, then you're able to save lives at the same time, prevent some form of retaliation after the event that takes lives has occurred. So that is where technology is supposed to come in. I don't necessarily believe in showing the brute force or trying to meet violence with violence. I believe in protecting life first, because the sanctity of life is important. That is the priority of any country or any parastatal. You just believe in saving lives first.
All right. Okay. Let me come back to Dr. Oyosoro. I'm gonna ask you now. I haven't heard what he said. In your own opinion, what do you think are some of the responses right now that we should be looking at? I mean, looking at where he's coming from. Yeah. What are some of the responses you think, we should be looking at right now?
Yeah, of course, there is the deficit in terms of security interagency cooperation. Because, he mentioned the use of tech in enhancing intelligence, which is the practice today as in the modern security community, if I would say so. But in the Nigerian scenario, where there is no huge investment in technology, which ought to be, we find a lack of communication between the security parastatals. They do not share the informations, the intelligence they have, because intelligence is different from information. Intelligence is information that has been analyzed. So if these parastatals share this intelligence, it will aid in trying to solve certain issues and not lead us to what we have seen. So, for example, many researchers have linked these banditry and killings of people around to resource agitations, or for the search of resources. And if you look at it, it is clear and evident that there are these killings in places where resources are viable and emphasized. There is a presence of foreign criminality of resources, of mining, for example. The EFCC and even the Nigerian immigration have accosted several Chinese people, Chinese miners who are mining illegally in Zamfara, etc. And the chief of staff to the president recently, there was an injunction, there is a halt on mining in several of those mining zones in regions in Nigeria. And you would see that, for example, if the immigration and the army collaborates, the immigration caught 200 Chinese men who had outstayed their visa in Nigeria, and that was swept under the carpet. So such things ought to be released or liaised with the...
Well, are we sure though that those have been swept under the carpet, or investigations are still ongoing?
Because in as much as that was uncovered, these processes still continue. There are issues of lack of follow-up in visa procedure. It is very easy to come to Nigeria than going to China, for example. If we want to go to China as a Nigerian, you will go through so many hurdles. But if a Chinese wants to come to Nigeria, it is very easy. And these people use tourist visas to come and mine. You understand? The reports are all over. It's not, and I'm not inventing them. The Nigerian immigration itself put out those reports. So if there is a share of intelligence between the parastatals, not just the police, not just between the police and the army. If these people come together to share intelligence, they have a central intelligence command unit, it will be perfect.
All right.
Yeah. So those are one of the ways which this should be curbed while trying to settle in for technological advancements and bringing in accurate technologies to help intelligence gathering.
All right, Mr. Guinea, let's come to you quickly before we go for a break. Can you just further go into the tech part and some of the kind of innovations in tech that we can see that we can use right now?
All right, so there are a number of things that currently exist, whether it's in the other part of the world, in the European part of the world, or it's in America. There are existing technologies that we can use to survey based on terrain, based on information, right? Because there are different things that have happened over the years in different parts of the country. It's widespread. So some technologies, for instance, satellite feeds, drones, LiDAR, or, things that detect large gatherings, that detect movements, that detect patterns within a period of time, right? And when you get all of those technologies together, you're able to analyze and create some form of actionable plan, then you can say you've successfully been able to use technology, you've been able to curb these problems with technology. So another thing we can talk about is arming people with information, and it means for them to relay information as quickly as possible. Now, it might not necessarily be with respect to an incoming attack. It could be that, for instance, like he has mentioned, there's a mining operation going on, and some people see this and they'll be like, oh, I don't know, maybe it is something the government has approved, right? So if you're able to go, maybe if it's a platform that has been created, you go online, you do the research, you find out, okay, I see this logo on their uniform, or I see these people here. Is there some form of authorization? Is it somewhere that we could find? That's something technology provides, access to information, right? And arming people with information to ensure that people are doing the right things at the right time can further help to prevent all of this somewhat random seeming attacks. Technology comes in to provide information both from the law enforcement standpoint and from the citizens as well, because it's like you said, we need to share information, whether it's inter-agency or civilian law enforcement relationships. So you could have platforms, whether it's the internet, whether it's just a contact person phone number, whatever, a way to just connect. There are so many ways to connect with technology. There are a lot of ways. So that would help to prevent. I am solely based on preventing the loss of life. Whenever I hear someone has died, there's a lump in my guts I cannot fight, So yeah, whether you're using technical forms of technology, whether you're using tactical forms of technology, you can bring different means, different methods, depending on terrain, depending on the kind of response you want. They all exist.
All right.
You can involve the talent on ground to even invent things on your behalf. That also works. So
I'm going to push you there. I like how you've brought in talent on ground. You know, there's a lot of talent. We're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be looking into, you know, that advice somewhere in the social media space suggesting that citizens should be able to take up arms against bandits and terrorists in a bid to secure their lives and belongings. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're watching Channels Beam coming to you live from our studio in Abuja. Dr. Felix Oyosoro and Edmond Igene are our guests, and we're still looking at Plateau killings and the unrest within the Middlebelt. Thank you, gentlemen, for staying with us. Quickly, let's come back to Dr. Oyosoro. You know, we've been hearing all over the space, social media, on X, on Facebook, and I mean just across social media spaces, that, hey, why not allow citizens to bear arms? You know, so like I said, I always love to go based on research. So the question then becomes, what are the rewards? What are the risks? What should we do? Should we just go along? You know, take us through that. I want us to have that rounded discussion about it. It's not just everybody opinionating, but giving their opinions on things like this. We want to know, what are the risks? What are the rewards? Which outweighs the other?
Of course, Sonest, if I came into this studio with a long arm, you know, with me, you would look at me somehow, and you won't stay close to me. Yeah. So generally, since the creation of the United Nations in 1945, there has been a rush on disarmament, disarming states, because the proliferations of weapons and mass productions of weapons have been seen as one of the elements that aid in creating insecurity around worldwide. So if we have a world where there are no productions of armaments, which is utopic, it can't happen, because we have those concepts of states wanting to protect their territory and all that. But disarmament is not totally removing those arms from the space, but bringing them to the barest minimum you get. So if the United Nations is doing that to states who are the major actors of international relations, who are the major actors of whatever the international space or the international community, then the idea of arming each citizen is absurd. We would be losing the social contract system upon which democracy is entrenched on. So it is totally a no for me. And no conflict analyst is going to accept that as a solution. The solutions are there, especially in a country like ours, where we practice a federated system. We should practice true federalism, giving powers to whom powers ought to be given. And here I'm talking about the local government authorities. These are the people who are at the grassroots level, who speak to the people, who know everything about the situation and the atmosphere of a place. So, but they are not given adequate...
So you're speaking community policing right now?
The issue of community policing has to also be seen in a little critically. Yeah, because policing is the major prerogative of the state. The state needs to secure the lives and properties of the individuals. Right. We do not need what we are seeing as community policing, vigilante groups, and all these security networks across the nations is as a result of a failure of the state not taking up its Regalian case or its Regalian cause. So the state needs to secure the lives and properties of the individuals inside and against external forces. Right. But when that is not done, people tend to want to protect themselves. And that is what we see. And like I have said, this is as a result of not giving autonomy or powers to whom powers are due.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me hold you there. I know you're a lecturer, so you can go on and on. I want to close with Mr. Igina. What at this moment is the tech community doing, and how more involved? You were talking about talent. So how more involved can the tech community come into this security situation as we speak?
All right. So let me use this example. Not too long ago, a couple of years ago, there was a young man that was showcasing his technology. It was supposed to transmit sound, barely audible sound, from one device to the other, and it would help in transacting financial payments, basically. Now, imagine you had a system of silently alarming citizens, right? That's something like someone in Nigeria was working on. Imagine that was repurposed, because there's a kind of shift or an overbalancing on the scale. There's a one-sided balance on the scale when it comes to technology in Nigeria, mostly into fintech, because we're trying to alleviate certain problems, right? But let's say there's a mandate to shift that, making it more lucrative, and then something like that is repurposed for maybe military use, maybe civilian use, communicating silently whenever there's something, whatever it is, you're communicating silently. That is just an example of what already exists within the country. There are a lot of individuals in the country that have so many technologies that are going towards a different part of Nigeria, and we need that shift. And that shift can only come when there's a mandate from either our president or our security advisors, to tilt the direction, make it more lucrative for people to shift their thinking towards that end. Right. Because personally, I can think of a lot of things I could try to do, but what I can do, I have, and probably it might help in the near future. But that is how we can get people to move from one side of the sectors in Nigeria to the other side, which is security, which we really need in the country.
All right. Thank you very much. Gentlemen, I must thank you for joining me to beam some rays of light on this ugly situation. I'm sure somebody there has gotten some deeper insight as to what's happening and what we can do. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, that's our show for today. Thank you very much for staying tuned. But for today, we're not going to be leaving you with our top 5 videos on our YouTube as we usually do. What we're going to be doing is leave you with the 10 most viewed videos of 2023. I'm Sunes Nathaniel. Till we meet same time next week, please remember that we have but one country, and it is our collective responsibility to ensure her safety, lest we be wiped out of history. Bye for now.
Coming in the 10th place on our countdown is a video in which we see singer Habib Okikiolu, aka Portable, in court being granted bail but remanded in custody till conditions were met, following a case of alleged assault.
I went to make my claim. I didn't divorce. She went to divorce herself.
Ninth on our list is the video of actor Emeka Ike explaining how marital crisis got him depressed for a very long time.
She said, Governor, George, please divorce me. I have to go. I said, Kilo Day, where are you going?
In the 8th place is a clip in which former president of Nigeria, Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, lauded the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, in the build-up to the presidential election.
Social media supporters. But to you, nobody has made any negative reference about your vision for this country.
7th place is reserved for a clip in which joint security forces arrested 4 suspects in connection with a robbery at a bank in Otukpo. The video of the former Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, assuring that the force will resist any attempt to use violence against the state, comes in the 6th place. At number 5, we see former President of Nigeria, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, partake in a novelty march as part of a program planned in celebration of his 85th birthday.
And those who collected the blood money.
In the fourth place is another video showing ex-President Obasanjo urging Nigerians not to set the nation on fire.
To save Nigeria from the looming danger and disaster, which is just waiting to happen.
Prior to becoming president in 2023, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu at a campaign rally explained the Emilokon slogan to those present, explaining how without him, Buhari would not have been president of Nigeria.
That what is presenting is in consonance with what was uploaded. If that is not done, then there's an infraction of the Electoral Act, and we will not allow it. And we cannot continue with corruption.
Second spot on our list is held by a video in which Chairman of INEC, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, warned Senator Dino Melaye that he was being disruptive at the collation center.
The election officer will not come up and tell us that what is uploaded is you don't want to show us.
I've had it being
Finally, for our first place on the countdown, our most viewed video for 2023 is a clip in which Professor Lumumba opines that Africa is suffering because the continent continues to elect the worst individuals to serve as its leaders. And there you have it, our 10 most viewed videos of 2023.
We always talk about leaders, but we never talk about the followers. The followers must also style up. Africans on average are for some reason attracted to thieves.